FBA fees climbing, I'm losing my grip. Storage costs rising, they'll never let me skip. Refunds I'm eating, returns pile up too. Oh, Amazon, what else will you do? I look at my dashboard, my profits erased. My margins are gone, it's a slap in the face. Prime Day's a promise, but it's such a race. How much will I make if I'm replaced? It's a cruel, cruel number. Fees keep climbing, profits torn asunder. Oh, it's cruel, the sellers wonder how to survive when the margins go under. It's a cruel, cruel number. Every month it's something new to plunder. Oh, it's cruel, it's no wonder we're stuck in this game, the algorithm's thunder.
Yo, Amazon's back, and they got a new scheme. Reimbursement slashed, it's every seller's dream. They're digging deep, taking more from the pot. Let's break it all down, expose what they got. March 25, it's a policy drop. They say manufacturing costs, but we know it's a flop. Give us your cogs, they're demanding the price. But if you don't, they'll estimate nice. Nice for them, not for you. Watch a payout shrink. That comprehensive evil is a corporate wing. Lost in the warehouse, damaged on the floor. Now they pay you pennies, not a cent more. Fees on the rise, profits on the run. They don't lift a finger, but they pocket the fun. We're fair! They shout while they cut our shares. Amazon math, man, it's full of errors. Fees, taking our dough. They're stacking the deck, and it's sellers who owe. Reimbursement? Nah, they're taking us down, but we're still here, we don't mess around. Fees, straight to the top. Amazon's game, it'll never stop. Margins tight, but we keep the grind. Sellers unite, we're one of a kind.
I try to sell my product on Amazon, thought it'd be a breeze. But little did I know I'd be stuck with seller support disease. They never seem to solve my problems, just give me the runaround. I'm tired of waiting on hold. My patience is wearing thin, I'll never be found. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck. Can't get no satisfaction. I'm out of luck, out of luck, out of luck. You don't care about my business, just trying to make a buck. Amazon seller support, you suck, you suck, you suck.
This one's for the sellers on the grind, getting left on red, wasting all their time. I hit up support, got an auto reply. Thanks for your patience, man, I wanna cry. Inventory lost, my margins are toast. Reps playing tag like the Casper the Ghost. They pass me around, it's a never-ending game. Nobody takes action, everybody shifts blame. My ASIN's down, I'm out of the race. They say they'll escalate, yo, what a disgrace. Amazon seller support, you're breaking my heart. No answers, no fixes, just tearing me apart. Hours in the queue, stuck in the dark. Amazon seller support, you're missing the mark.
Amazon game plan, that is the key. Seller central dashboard, that's where I be. Analyze the funnel, see what we lack, then we optimize sellers, know it's a fact. I get it poppin', you know that it's lit. Climbing the rankings, ain't no room to quit. I check the data, they notice the stats. I keep the method, that's how you adapt. Metrics are showing, you know it's our cap. Amazon sellers, it's time to react. I'm about that action, I do this with passion. I got them like, whoa, what is this? Huh, whoa.
I don't know, dude. I think everybody's just buying stuff based on reviews and badges or whatever. They don't even know who we are. These customers don't even know the name of my brand. But they keep clicking add to cart like it's part of the plan. They see that Amazon badge and think it's all grand. But yo, they don't even know the name of my brand.
Click, scroll, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell a day. Now listen up, I'm Steven Pope, Amazon guru, I'll help you cope. Step 1, get that that trademark stamped. Without brand registry, your Amazon cramped. Head to Seller Central, log in quick. Manage stores tab, yeah, that's the trick. Upload your logo, flex that style. You're about to make Jeff Bezos smile. Where pick a template, marquee or grid. Drop your tiles like a branding whiz. Hero image, big and bold. This store's gonna glitter like digital gold. Flex, scroll, build your store. Amazon's waiting, what you waiting for? Brand it loud, make it shine. Steven's here to drop the rhyme. Blue tiles, banners, plug and play. Your storefront's live, let's sell today. Yo. In the trenches of the Amazon game, trying to survive while it's driving me insane. Nobody warns you, they just claim it's passive income. Nah, it's pain. I'm sitting at a birthday, laughing, chilling, next to a newbie Amazon seller spilling. She's like, Prime so smooth, it's a killer. Then tried to sell, now she's stuck in a thriller. Finding products, yeah, that's the first grind. Scrolling Alibaba, losing my mind. Sample suck, manufacturers decline. I'm like, dang, how's anyone doing this fine? Ship it in, pay for the bubble wrap, but they ship glass bottles in padded crack. Now I got hot sauce leaks, refund stack, customers pissed. Man, I'm under attack. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat. Trademark wars, brand registry's a scam. They banned my brand, now I'm in a jam. Listings yanked, products ranked and tanked. Lost dogs in the catalog, my account shanked. Now let's talk ads, it's a rabbit hole. 1,000 hours deep, man, it's taking my soul. Weekly negations, bulk sheets for control. Excel's my new weapon, but it's taking its toll. SEO's no joke, keywords in the game. All text, A+ content, playing insane. Lifestyle shots, avatars for fame, but the CTR's low. All products look the same. Amazon's a beast, it's a fight, no peace. From SEO to PPC, from SEO to PPC, the hustle don't cease. Think it's passive? Nah, you better increase your tolerance for chaos or face defeat.
Let's go to Mac School. To Mac School. Class is now in session with Professor Pope. They got the SOP, cause Professor Pope wrote the recipe. Helping Amazon sellers grow sales exponentially. Amazon's a jungle, but we map the strategy. Brand strategist playbook, it's a guide to victory. Troubleshooting catalogs, you know we got the answer key. Boosting all your rankings, turning sales into a legacy. SOB so deep, you think we studied at Mac School. Every step we follow leads to growth, yeah, it's a golden loop. Stuck on keywords, we'll find the ones that work the best. Using Helium 10, strike distance keywords pass the test. Incremental indexing ensures the listing set to rise. From the back end to the bullets, optimization hits the skies. Brand store creation, yeah, we make it shine and flow. A+ content design makes conversions overflow. Need your images on point, best practices in the plan. All text and photo rules ensure your visuals command. SEO meets PPC, it's balanced, every step aligned. We'll construct the MKLs that drive rankings over time. Budget caps and bid adjustments, no more wasted spending. Segmentation builds campaigns that sellers can defend. Got a hijacker, no problem, we'll file to take them down. Review requests in action, 5-star ratings come around. Flat file updates, market share reports, it's all in reach. Professor Pope wrote the SOP so sellers learn and teach.
Meanwhile, my Amazon guys on the case, fixing up my problems at lightning pace. Ticket escalations, Mag's the boss. Even Amazon says we'll take the loss. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. They're supposed to be the pros, but they can't decode policies and tools from their own damn road. I'm paying fees, yet they bring me stress. But Mag turns my chaos into pure success. Seller support reps, they throwing shade, but then admit, yo, Mag will get you paid. Third-party agency taking the throne while Amazon fumbles in their own damn zone. Seller support don't know what's up. Passing the buck when the issue gets tough. They're the official team, but they can't comply. So they say, reach out to my Amazon guy. So here's the truth, let's keep it real. Mag's the team with the pro-level skill. Amazon sellers, you know the vibe when support says call Mag. They'll give you peace of mind. Amazon seller support, you can suck my image stack. Sucking is all you're good at anyway. Bezos, hit me up if you want to sell seller support. I'm buying. There's a chase. Peace.
Prime Day is over. It's in the books, but we still got a whole lot of selling ahead of us. So today we're going to be talking about pay-per-click advertising and how you can improve your paid ads. And so I just want to know, where is everybody from? If you don't mind, drop in the chat. Let me know, where are you joining us from? And just know that we will be rewarding participation. So I already got questions queued up even before we got started. That's always a nice thing to see, people asking questions before we start. But I want to know for now, where is everybody from? And as I said, we will probably be doing some sort of rewards for participation. There will be participation trophies involved with this. Maybe not trophies, but gifts of value, let's just say. So drop just to make sure you can hear me, just drop in the comments where you are joining us from. Always nice to see where people are going. Serge says, how are you doing? I'm doing well. How are you, Serge? We have Mateus is joining us from Argentina. My son is a huge fan of a famous soccer player from Argentina, which I'm sure everyone knows. A certain guy who he plays in Miami. Does he still play in Miami? Even though Miami, but it's not really in Miami. It's like closer to Fort Lauderdale where the stadium's at. Anyway, total side note. But yes, glad to have you joining us from Argentina. We have Jetta joining us from KSA. Forgive me. Where is KSA? Is that wouldn't be Kentucky, or is that USA? The K and the U are kind of close to us. So where is KSA? I'm very interested. Then we've got Sadi or Syed joining us, How to decrease ACoS. Get more sales. That's usually the or convert higher, I should say. Hamed joining us from Pakistan. Syed joining us from Pakistan as well. We want knowledge. I want knowledge too. Says, hi, Kevin. How's your day? My day is good. I'm hoping your day is good too. Crazy Fun is saying, oh, that's in the Middle East. Abdul is joining us from Turkey. Crazy Fun says, Middle East Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Oh, so we got Saudi Arabia in the house. Very cool. And we've got Jawaria Khan. Hopefully I didn't butcher that. Is joining us from Pakistan. Mikhail is also joining us from Pakistan. Daniel is joining us from Silicon Valley, San Jose. Oh, and he clarifies that he's an FBM seller. So it sounds like somebody's shipping everything direct, or shipping. I'm curious, Daniel, are you shipping everything like direct from like your own warehouse, or using a 3PL? It's very interesting that he's very proud to say that he's an FBM seller. So that's very cool. But it's interesting that you pointed that out. So that says a lot. But I think that's really cool. All right, Mohammed says we're ranking. Oh, that's a question. We'll get to questions here in a minute. Sir, you have more fans from Pakistan looking like. We do. Pakistan is representing in the house. So I always find that people in Pakistan are very eager to learn, which I think is awesome. So love having folks here. And then I guess more questions coming in. And then Daniel says from own warehouse. Awesome. Well, that's pretty cool. So glad things are going well for you, Daniel, or hopefully things are going well for you shipping out of your own warehouse. All right, so let's start getting into some questions. So if you've never been on here before, we already have a whole bunch of questions that have already queued up, which I go for the most part in order, although I do reserve the right to go out of order. But before I get into the questions, I just want to say one thing. If you told me where you were from, I'm going to give you a free $100 Mag School course. It's not technically me giving it to you. It's technically my Amazon guy is giving it to you, and someone else will be the one to send you the coupon code. But just email podcast@myamazonguy.com. Podcast is singular, podcast at myamazonguy.com. And my Amazon guy is all one word. Podcast@myamazonguy.com, and let us know that Kevin promised you a free $100 Mag School course, and we will give you a free Mag School course just for participating. And who knows, maybe I'll give some more away later on as the day progresses. So let's start getting into some questions. And the thing with questions that I was about to say earlier is that people generally wait till the end to start asking questions. There starts to be this inertia, this momentum builds up. It's kind of like, if you remember in school, the teacher says, does anyone have a question? And people are starting to kind of like look around, who's asking questions, and somebody start asking a question. Someone else has a question. And all of a sudden, everybody's got questions. And then not everybody's question gets answered because everybody waited till the end to ask their question. So don't wait till the end to ask your question. We want to help you out, but you got to ask your questions now. And I can just tell you this, the quality of your question is going to dictate the quality of the helpfulness of the response. So when people say how to launch with PPC, or that's not even that vague, but someone will say, how do I improve my PPC? Give me a little more context. So the better your question, the better your response that you will get, and hopefully more helpful and get you better results, because that's the whole point of doing this, is we want to help you get better results. So, all right. Abanab says, in sponsored campaigns, I know basics, but is there a secret strategy I can use for bidding strategy when I use which? So, all right. So I'm going to do my best to answer this question. So really, when it comes down to, there's no secret strategy. There's just different strategies. And so I have hosted over 20 summits for virtual summits for Amazon sellers, and almost all of, well, I wouldn't say almost all of them. Say about half of them have been PPC focused. All of them have had PPC speakers. And I can tell you, there's people that will say, this is the sacred cow you never touch, and this is the sacred cow you never touch, and this is the secret that works. This is the secret that works. There really is no secret. If you do this, everything's going to be better. It's all coming down to testing. But when it comes to bidding, there's a couple things you could do. One, you could start with Amazon's their suggested bid. Now, keep in mind, their suggested bid is their suggestion. Now, Amazon is, I know sometimes at MAG we say it's not me versus you, it's all of us against Amazon, which we wholeheartedly believe that we're all working together to figure out how to sell on Amazon. But at the end of the day, Amazon is not your enemy. They're not against you per se. Let's say your goals and objectives overlap with their goals and objectives. They do not run together necessarily. So they have a goal of objective of profit, which we understand. And so some of that runs into sellers spending a little bit more on PPC. And so I think that just based on pure incentives, that the suggested PPC bids are going to be just a little bit higher for what you might necessarily need to spend. So you can test it out, see what works. Now, one thing that I've learned along the way, and I like to give credit where credit is due. So Michael Erickson Fasheen from Ad Badger is the one that taught me this. Revenue per click times desired ACoS. This is not a perfect formula, and it can work in extremes. So be careful with this one. So everything I'm going to say is, work, do your best to make it work, or to make sure it doesn't give you like crazy numbers. So you would take revenue per click. So your sales divided by clicks for a keyword in a given time period, times your desired ACoS. So if we had, let's say, all right, let's just try to use some easy math here. Part of this is for my own benefit. So let's say you had $100 in sales and you had 20 clicks. So on average, every time somebody clicked for that particular keyword, that you had 20 clicks, you made $5 in sales every time someone clicked. Now, granted, not everybody buys, so there's no partial sale, but just on average, your revenue for every click is about $5. So if your ACoS goal is 30%, 30% times $5 would be $1.50. So theoretically, you could bid up to $1.50. You could spend up to $1.50. And if your next 20 clicks perform the same way as your last 20 clicks, then you should be good. Now, if you're, let's say, you have a 15% ACoS goal, so $5 per click times 0.15, that's 75 cents that you could spend per click and have your 15% ACoS goal. And it's going to depend on, how much revenue did you get and how many clicks did you get times what is your desired ACoS goal. So that one at least helps you figure out if you're in the ballpark. And so that one you got to be a little bit careful with, because sometimes you might have gotten one click and one sale, and then that math might work out to like $25 bid. That's not going to make sense. So just check to make sure, or you have a couple big orders for just randomly. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have big orders for your next however many clicks. So just use that one sparingly, but at least helps you kind of know, like, are you in the ballpark of, especially when you have sufficient data of clicks and sales. All right. So just answered that one. Serge says, could you break down the launch PPC strategy in detail? How to choose keywords on advertising? Okay. So this one's specific, but we will do our best here. So how to choose keywords to advertise from your keyword list, determine the number of ad campaigns and daily budget of each campaign. I'm going to break it to you. The word "it depends" or the phrase "it depends" is going to be in the answer here, but I'll at least give you some direction. Okay, so that's another question. So we'll stick with this one here. So, all right, choose keywords to advertise to on your keyword list. How relevant are they? So do they seem relevant? So one of the things I like to always talk about is like markers. So this is technically not a dry erase marker, but just pretend. So dry erase marker, if you search on Amazon for markers and dry erase markers, you'll see completely different products. So for markers without dry erase, you're going to see like you're going to see a lot of crafting markers, Crayola markers, markers for school, things of that nature. Whereas dry erase markers is going to give you completely different markers because it's very specific to a certain type of marker. Whereas, if you have a similar type product, not similar to markers, but something similar to that, where there's a keyword that's like, 1 or 2 words long, that's very broad, and yours is a little more specific, going after the super broad one might be dangerous. So just be careful with that. So how relevant are the keywords to your product? And then as far as the ad campaigns, this isn't like a necessarily you have to do it this way, but try to semantically include similar keywords together. So if our recommendation at MAG is no more than 5 keywords per campaign, so you put 5 keywords in each campaign, and if you have black dry erase marker keywords, then you put them all together that include the word black. Other words that that are maybe connected some other way, we'd include those together. So you want to maybe include those together. That's not like let's say that's a bonus. That's not necessarily a requirement, but no more than 5 is our recommendation at MAG, just so you have more budget control. And then daily budget of each campaign. So I'm going to say this: what are you comfortable spending in the beginning that you're not afraid to lose? It would be the way I would look at it. Because there's going to be some keywords you're going to go after that are just going to totally bomb. Some that are going to like hit it out of the park in ways you hadn't thought of. You don't know yet. So your budget, as far as I'm concerned, in the long term, should land at basically just being a guardrail to make sure you don't suddenly start spending way too much on ads, but spend as much as you can and still be profitable and still do well and still bring in sales. And not waste money on keywords that aren't performing. But in the beginning, you don't have enough data to know which is going to be which. So I would say whatever you're comfortable spending on. And so, you could look at it as, okay, if I'm going to how many sales do I want to get per day? How much is a click going to cost me? What's my conversion rate? So if you factor all that in and you take your number of sales you want to get. So let's say you want to get 10 sales per day and you're expecting your conversion rate to be 15%. That's going to be 75 clicks off the top of my head. I might have to, I have a phone. I was looking for my calculator. I was like, 1997 has passed and we now have phones that have calculators on them. So I can just do this here real quick on the fly. So bear with me, folks. All right. So if I was to say that I could find my calculator app. Okay. So I've got the calculator app here. So if I was to say, I wanted to get 10 sales per day. So divide by, let's say our conversion rate, let's say we're expecting to be 15%. So we would need, oh, that's ominous, 66.6666 clicks. Let's just call that 67 clicks. So you would need to get 67 clicks. So then, assuming your assumptions for conversion rate worked out, so it'd be 67 clicks. And if they're, let's just say for ease of math here, $1 per click, then you would need to spend $67. So just basically make it $70. So for also ease of math here, if this is spread out over 7 campaigns, you would have $10 per campaign, which would theoretically get you there. Now, the hard part is you don't necessarily know which one needs more budget. So sometimes you want to go just a little bit higher than that. So maybe you would say $15 per campaign. Or maybe you say 20 because you want to be aggressive, but just be careful to start pruning off the ones that aren't performing. All right. So Mag recommends launching with a 50% discount, how to set up this discount correctly. So for this, there's probably going to be some folks that are going to have different opinion of whether it's, we're definitely not talking about coupon when Mag talks about that. I know there's a graphic that if you look on my Amazon Guys LinkedIn page, and we've put this one out fairly frequently. But when we talk about like a discount of 50%, we mean just literally like lower your price. So if your target price is $40, you sell at 20. It's basically that simple. It's nothing fancy with a coupon. You could run it as your price or a sale price. I don't think for this particular purpose, it's going to make all that much of a difference. But basically, and then stair step as you start getting in more sales, start increasing it in price a little bit at a time. And it probably is going to be very uncomfortable. And you'd be like, I'm not going to make any money. The point of this is not to make money, but to get initial sales and to get the ball rolling. Because Amazon is has a chicken and egg problem. That you have to have impressions to get sales. And in order to get impressions, you have to have sales, but you have to get sales, you have to have impressions. So like which comes first, the impression or the sale? And so sometimes if you have lower prices, you're a little bit more likely to get clicked on, a little bit more likely to people to buy when you do get, shown. So it does signal some engagement to the algorithm, both with clicks, add to carts, purchases, and that would help you. And then you don't stick with that forever. Like we're not in this to just donate money to Amazon. Your goal is to, over time, get your pricing up. All right. Next up, I launched a test FBM product with a 50% discount sale price, and the buy box showed up on 1 out of 3 variations. Others didn't have it. I tried to adjust the price, but it didn't help. Sometimes Amazon's funny about that. So maybe just try it at the your price, lowering the your price. And when you say it showed on 1 of 3 variations, the discount showed up, or like when you try to increase it, the buy box showed up. The buy box showed up on 1 out of 3 variations. The others didn't have it. I tried to adjust the price, but it didn't help. Try doing it as a your price instead of a sale price and see if that helps. Amazon's, and I think it might be more driven by the FTC has come after them about like sales manipulations. And so you just want to make sure whatever it is, something is being flagged in the algorithm. I'm not 100% sure by what you're describing why that would be an issue with 2 out of the 3, because clearly they're allowing it with at least 1. But maybe try it as a your price and not a sale price. But yeah, that's an interesting one. What to do with the list price at launch? Make it equal to your price. I don't think the list price really matters that much, in my personal opinion. And then your last question. So you got a lot of good questions there, Serge. What to do if your buy box doesn't appear when you launch a new product? Oh, you said that before. What to do? It disappears in general, especially if there's no clear explanation why in the pricing health tab. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Maybe put in as much as I hate to say it, put in a support case with seller support and see what they say. Because your buy box should show up. There's no reason the buy box wouldn't show up. So based on what you're describing here, you're not raising the price like suddenly. Like that's one of the things they don't like is like big increases and decreases. I am curious, like, did you have the price at a higher price earlier? So it sounds like you're doing the right things to test it, but I would find out why that is that the buy box isn't showing up, and make sure something isn't also suppressed in your listing as well. That there's not like something like the listing itself is active, because sometimes there's other weird things that might be happening there. All right. Crazy Fun says, I'm going to launch my second product on Amazon. Congratulations. What did you recommend to set the starting price? Competitor's price is $9.99. My break even is $7.25. One strategy to rank quickly as Q4 is coming. So as we were just talking about before, Mag recommends dropping your price down as low as 50%, which you don't necessarily have to. If the competitors are at $9.99 and your break even is $7.25, I'm curious, like, how much margin is there to begin with? So I know it sounds like you've already got the product and everything. As you're looking to expand into new products, I would look to go for products with higher price points. I would also look and see if you can like create a quantity bundle of some sort, like maybe, they get a bundle of 3 or something, and sell that as well, because you're going to have a really tough road to hoe. I honestly, for the life of me, don't understand how a lot of products make it under $10. When you think about like, I shouldn't say can't make it. There's not a lot of meat on the bone to even advertise, let alone make a profit. So I would say lower the price as much as you're comfortable with. In your case, you don't have a lot of meat on the bone to begin with as it is. So if your competitors are at $9.99, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be $9.99. You could position yourself as a more premium product, which is possible. But I would look into how can you better position yourself as a premium product, because that's going to be a really hard price point to go with. And then do your best to get as many sales as you can here in the beginning. But that's a really low price point. And then how can you sell at a higher price point, either with that or bundling it with quantity or bundling it even with other things? Because even in Q4, you're going to have a lot of trouble. And $9.99, it's probably a lot of competitors from a certain country in Asia that are manipulating some things and they get away with it. And so I don't want to throw stones, but I would be very cautious of selling that product if your competition is at $9.99 and your break even is at $7.25. All right. Serge asks another question here. What if you sell your product on your website for $25 and launch on Amazon for $30? Will Amazon notice that? They potentially can if you have the same UPC code in both spots. How does that even work? Should I temporarily increase my price on my website as well? I would say so. Amazon's funny about that. Like, and as much as they're, worried about the competition or the buy box issue, if you're selling it at a lower price on your website than you are on Amazon, And so they might think that's some price manipulation. They also know that they can't get away with forever being a monopoly. So that's a tough one. I would say at least sell it for the same price on both. And so if you're selling at 25 on Amazon, why not sell for 25 on your own website? Which you're on your own website, you're really just theoretically, instead of 15% referral fee, you have a three-ish percent credit card processing fee. And so I would say you should be okay to increase your price on your website. Or decrease your price on Amazon, or you can increase the price on your website. So I would say sell it at the same price on both, just to keep it simple. Thoughts on modified match modified as a match type for campaigns? We use it from time to time at Mag. I know a lot of our people do. I've not personally used it all that much on my own campaigns. Amazon's getting a little bit more broad in what's included. So that's one way to protect yourself. So it's probably at least worth testing out on a few campaigns to see how it works. But I personally don't have a lot of experience to comment all that much on the modified broad. And that's where you add the little plus sign in front of the keyword. All right, so let's get into some more questions. If you have questions, feel free to drop them into the chat. And we've got lots of questions that are piling in. So the sooner you ask, the sooner you're more likely to be getting your question answered. I was starting to lose a sense of grammar there, but I brought it back. All right, so next up, what was our next question? It comes from Mohammed on LinkedIn. Asks, we are ranking our product keywords, and after a few days, we see that the search volume of those keywords is decreasing. What should we do now? I wouldn't panic. I mean, you can't control search volume. So search volume, you're just going to know that there's ebbs and flows. And so, right now, we are 1 week away from the start of Prime Day. So Prime Day, or we're 1 week past the start of Prime Day. And I'm assuming everyone else is probably similar to what I saw on my own account and what other people have talked about as well, is it kind of started off highest on Tuesday. I had equal sales Tuesday and Wednesday. A lot of people I talked to said they had lower sales on Wednesday, and then it just kept kind of going down from there. So this year was the first year they had the 4-day Prime Day. So if there's less traffic on the website, there's less people searching things. So unless there's a reason why suddenly more people are searching for whatever that keyword is, this week versus last week, which maybe back to school keywords, maybe you're starting to do a little bit better. But for the most part, I would imagine most keywords, the search volume has gone down. So I wouldn't worry about it. Just know that it's an ebb and flow, and you have to look on a long time horizon and not just from day to day. And I wouldn't make any, big decisions. Maybe adjust your bids a little bit, maybe get a little bit more aggressive if you're trying to be aggressive with sales. And you weren't ranking at the top of the page, maybe go a little bit higher in your bid just to try to get more sales. But I wouldn't worry about it too much. Just know that that's something that's going to happen. All right, Mikhail says, suggest some tricks to get better sales in Q3. So Q3 is kind of a weird quarter because you have Prime Day, then you have back to school, and then you have September. So August, so once you get past Prime Day, they did Prime Day a little earlier than they've done in the past. Usually it's more towards the middle of July. I think we were kind of expecting it here to be this week and not last week. And they always announce Prime Day kind of somewhat last minute, like usually a couple weeks ahead of time. So we don't know how that's going to affect things. And they made it 4 days instead of 2. So, but just know that usually after Prime Day, things start to slow down a little bit. Things start to slow down in August, unless you have back to school type products, then you can do really well there. And then there is the ability to make sales in September, which sometimes will ramp up a little bit before Q4. but usually not too much. So Q3, in my opinion, has always been kind of a weird quarter. So, but what can you do about that? So a few things is, if you're not already, I would probably start running some sponsored display campaigns that are retargeting visitors to your listing. If you have a product that has repeat purchases, maybe, set up a brand tailored promotion or sponsored display going to people, targeting people who have purchased your product to try to get them to come back and buy again. Now, when I say that, if you sell phone cases, maybe some people might argue with me on this one. You're not going to get tons of repeat purchases. I mean, honestly, I've been buying outer boxes for 10 years, but I do it when I get a new phone, or I tend to let phones go. Like I let them go. I think my last payment on this phone is like next month. And so I've had it for almost 2 years. So before that, I think I had my last phone for like 4 or 5 years. I think a lot of the new features aren't really worth it. So point being, on my last phone, I think I replaced the cover once in like the 4 or 5 years I had it. And then since I've had this phone, I did replace it once. So I bought it when I bought a new cover when I bought it. And then I replaced the cover again, only because I was finding I kept losing the phone because it was a black cover. So I was like, I need something that's easier for me to see. That's not going to just blend in with like dark wood furniture, or, pillows that are dark, or wherever I leave it. Or, I leave the phone on like a thing like this, and if it's black, it just blends in, but this, it sticks out. So point being, bringing it back to what we're talking about here. If you have a product that, there's not really a reason like a phone case for people to keep coming back and buying your product over and over again, I wouldn't worry about trying to retarget past customers all that much. I would focus on also maybe doing a brand tailored promotion to add to carts. Because if you think about it, like the last person that asked the question, hey, keyword volume has gone down. It's because less people on the platform. It's not Prime Day anymore. But there were people who were clicking on it, and maybe it wasn't the deal for them, but maybe they're still interested in the product. So give them a little nudge, a little reminder, because, otherwise on Amazon, unfortunately, because you don't have a lot of tools, you do have some tools. And so take advantage of the tools that you have. When I say tools that you have, I'm talking about the ability to retarget people who at least expressed interest. Because if you have your own website, you can create like, abandoned cart flows and stuff like that. You can't do that on Amazon, but you can run brand tailored promotions, sponsored display retargeting those folks. If you're a bigger seller, potentially do DSP as well. And so DSP could be for retargeting, and it could also be for demand generation. And so, we've got some folks who have done really well with DSP, because it starts to create demand, because at a certain point, there's only so many people searching for whatever that keyword is. So you got to find new ways to create demand. But I wouldn't worry too much about DSP if you're just relatively new and getting started. So hopefully those were some tips and tricks to help you in Q3. Maybe also run a coupon just to kind of spike the algorithm a little bit. Maybe lower your prices a little bit. Ebb and flow them, maybe even test the higher price just to see if that helps bring in some sales. Because sometimes if things have just been at the same price forever, the algorithm doesn't have anything to work with. But, even going up a little bit in price might force the algorithm to say, let's give a few more impressions to see what happens. If people still click on it. Will more people click on it? Will less people click on it? So sometimes just little tweaks you can do. And then also use this as a time to start preparing for Q4. Maybe you need to update your A+ content, do more A+ content, things of that nature. All right. Then what do we have? Sponsored display. Someone asked this question here. I have a question about sponsored brand, sponsored display. How I use them in a new launch. What is a new launch and strategy used in this phase? Okay. So my suggestion is, if you're new to this, I wouldn't worry too much about sponsored brand, sponsored display. I find most sales for most sellers is going to come from sponsored product ads. So that's keyword based ads and targeting other products like on their detail page. I would focus there. And so sponsored display could give you a little bit of an increase. Sponsored brands can be very hard to make work if you're not familiar with it. So I would suggest maybe staying away from that initially for now. That would be my suggestion to you. That's probably not the answer you were looking for, but you could test out a couple sponsored brands and sponsored displays. But if you're in the launch phase, I think just personally focus on sponsored products and be as aggressive as you can there, and get good data, because you're going to have some data for products that just don't perform at all. And so figure out what's performing and work on there, and then maybe start adding in for the keywords that are working well on sponsored brands. Try maybe in sponsored display, because there's a lot more moving pieces with sponsored display and sponsored brands. You got to start coming up with creatives. There's a lot of other things you got to do. So it's easy to waste a lot of time and effort for what ends up not being as much sales as what you're going to get if you focus your time on sponsored products. It's my personal opinion. And if you like spending time in creative, then good. Work on your main image, work on your brand story, work on your A+ content. That's my suggestion. All right. Mohammed says, I am from Pakistan. Great. Welcome from Pakistan. I was probably tying it earlier when I asked everybody where they were from. We're ranking our product and keywords, and after a few days, we see the search volume of those keywords is decreasing. What should we do now? Oh, I think you had already asked that question earlier. My answer was not to worry too much about it. At a certain point, especially coming the week after Prime Day, you're going to have less search volume on the platform in general. So I wouldn't worry too much. Mikhail says, sometimes clients want lower ACoS, but if we want to lower their ACoS in that time, lower the sales down to handle this kind of situation. So here's one thing you could do is you could create an illustration. So you might want to say to them, okay, if your sales go down, maybe your profit goes up. Is it worth it to you? And so show selling price minus referral fee minus FBA fee. And you could have two columns with two scenarios. One column is maybe at their current ACoS, and one if you lower it. And you're saying if we lower it, let's just say that decreases your sales by 10%, 20%. I don't know. Come up with a number and then say, okay, so in scenario one, which let's say is the one column, you have a bunch of different scenarios. You have selling price minus FBA fee minus referral fee. And then you could have, minus cost of acquisition. And your cost of your acquisition is essentially your ACoS times your selling price. And then that would be your cost per acquisition. So that might be whatever the cost you spent on ads to acquire that customer on average. And that is what your ads are, or what your gross profit is, and then add cost of goods sold. And then now add maybe your gross profit, and then say number of units from ads, and then show number of units times number of units per ads. And that's how much profit you made. And then show your maybe number of sales you got that came organically. And that's sometimes a harder one to figure, but if you had 100 total sales in X time period and 57% of them were from ads, that means the other 43 must have been organic. There's other ways you could tweak it, but sometimes it's hard to know exactly. But you can at least give yourself the framework here. Then you can say times, this is your profit as well because you didn't have ads for these. And so you show the scenario with how much profit they brought in, and then you show it again if, let's say, sales decrease from ads and sales decrease from your organic, whatever that percentage is. You're going to have some of it is you're kind of somewhat making assumptions and making this up. And it's totally going to depend on the product. But you could say maybe just 20% as a benchmark. And then how much money are they bringing home? So maybe that you could show them, you might be getting more, you might make more per unit, but you would be shooting yourself in the foot because you have less sales. And so that would be the best way to do it. So you show them what it would look like with less sales and lower ACoS versus what the current scenario is. That would be my suggestion. All right. Daniel says, FBM order. Our order flow has been extremely volatile. Seems like for a couple of years already. Stops, then gets some sales, as if account getting shut down. Not running out of ad spend, constantly perfect account health. That's good. No change in anything. Sometimes no order for hours, then get some orders in a row, as if constant phantom suspensions. I wouldn't worry about that. I think some of that is, I think there's a delay in Amazon's system. So like I have found there's some days where I'm like stressing out. I'm like, oh my God, today is just an absolute disaster. And then everything's fine by 10 o'clock at night. Like it just all kind of averages out. So I think sometimes it's a reporting issue on Amazon's side. Like it could be, a major AWS client has huge needs for whatever reason on a particular day. And now in the grand scheme of the bandwidth that Amazon has, they're moving bandwidth to maybe a big client or some other internal big issue. And who's left in the lurch? Seller reporting. That's my personal opinion. I don't know that to be for a fact, but if you're running a company and you've got only so much bandwidth, which you'd think it's almost infinite, but at a certain point, there's only so much to go around. So, and it could be, micro things. Like it's not the whole big platform, but it's like, okay, if we lose a little, if we need more bandwidth here, we take from there, and there might be reporting. So I don't think you're probably getting micro suspended. I think it just might be, for whatever reason, the reporting issue. The other thing that could be happening in your case is if you're selling wholesale products, maybe someone else suddenly got the buy box who has FBA. FBA is going to generally win out over FBM. And then if these are your own products and you own the buy box no matter what, it could just be people are weird about when they buy and whatnot. So take a look too and see, like, is it constantly like in the 2 o'clock hour that you are constantly having less sales? Then maybe for whatever reason, people don't buy FBM orders because at 2 o'clock, because they're getting orders at their houses in the afternoon and they're reminded of FBA. Not that they're reminded of FBA, but they're reminded of Prime. And so they're looking for Prime. And it just maybe clicks in their head more because around that time of day, they're seeing the trucks, the vans around their house or whatever. That's totally out of left field, but sometimes you just never know. All right. All right. Danish says, sir, I have launched my boss's beauty products brand in the USA. Congratulations. Now we run PPC, pay per click ads. That's good. If we increase the bid, we get sales, but end up in a loss. And if we lower the bid, we don't get any sales. All right. So a couple things. It could be the targeting you're going after, or it could just be that old chicken and egg problem of, you probably don't have a lot of reviews, and you're probably going, if you're in beauty cosmetics, you're probably going against products that have lots of reviews. And so some of it is you're just going to have to get some sales to get more sales. And so Amazon, as I was mentioning earlier, is kind of a chicken and egg problem. They call it flywheel effect. So as you get more sales, you get more impressions. More impressions theoretically would lead to more clicks and more sales. And if you get more sales, then they want to show you more. And so, and that works especially well when you're not ranked super high. So what you probably want to do is, one, note that you're going to just at certain point, not do quite as well with ads in the beginning. Then what are other things non-ad related that you can optimize that could help you? And so like your main image, how does your main image look? And ask you could run a PickFu poll on your search engine results page and ask people where would you click and why? And you can even Photoshop you in if you're not on page one, but you can at least see like, why are people clicking the other products and not yours? And then just objectively ask yourself, why are people clicking the other products and not mine? Because maybe they have a better main image. Maybe you think you have a great main image, but something else is just for whatever reason clicking with other people more. How can you make yours more clickable? Then on the page itself, little things you could do. Do you have crawlable text in your A+ content? Meaning text that you could highlight with your mouse, as opposed to text and images, which you can't highlight. Do you have alt text in your images that's not just like, describing the picture, like woman holding lipstick? Like that doesn't help. But, lipstick for women, misspelling of lipstick, something else. Like you could add up to 100 characters of alt text per image, and we have found that would help. Maybe include some Spanish in there as well. Do you have good keywords in your search terms in your backend keywords field? So I would look at that and see what can you do within your control outside of just adjusting the bid. Adjusting the bid can help you, but what are other things you can do to help yourself get more conversions while also getting more traffic, because Amazon's algorithm can find you. And that might be part of the problem there too, is Amazon might be making your clicks more expensive because it doesn't know that people want to purchase your product. And the algorithm not the algorithm has beliefs, but the algorithm doesn't seem to correlate your product with the keywords that you're trying to go after. And so if it could seem more relevant, then the algorithm might be more inclined to give you lower cost per clicks and give you better placements, both paid and organically. So I would look at that. And so it's a combination of, adjust your bids, but what can you do on the listing itself? And so that also gives me a shameless plug for folks. If you are not signed up already, you could go to, I should probably actually just grab that link and throw it up here, but we're hosting a listing masterclass, absolutely free, which you can attend this week, which I will add the comment here. So just put this link into the chat. It should start to show up in some of the other platforms here momentarily. I gotta actually share my screen here. Changed where that button is in StreamYard. Sorry, I'm talking to myself at this point. But basically, you can sign up for this coming Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern time, where Noah and myself will be on board to take a look at your listings. We'll show you some tips and tricks to have better listings, which better listings equals better traffic, better conversions, better PPC in the long run. So, all right. Next up, let me take a look here. I'm skipping around because I think some other people have had questions answered. We're starting to run out of time. Viper1213 says, what do I do if my product sold out during Prime Day? Congratulations. I had 1,000 units received by Amazon before Prime Day, but haven't dispersed it. And now it seems like it's out of stock and no Prime badge. Oh, I hate this. Yes. So just as I was talking before, that sometimes with reporting, the bandwidth of networking resources, we'll call it, sometimes get moved from, like, Amazon Web Services maybe move stuff from reporting to something else they need it for. Well, sometimes checking in inventory or moving inventory around is kind of put on the back burner if they have a bunch of other sales that they're focused on. So if they have a bunch of, because I've also noticed that my, not in a huge amount, but relative to my sales numbers, my open orders that have not yet shipped for FBA seems to have gone up lately. And so they're probably just running behind. So if they're behind on getting orders out the door to customers, they generally will prioritize that over getting what's the word I'm looking for? Either checking in inventory or checking in inventory as it's first received, and also checking inventory as they're processing it between fulfillment centers. So it will oftentimes get stuck in FC transfer status, which is absolutely frustrating, but it is what it is. And there's probably also after Prime Day, let people go on vacations and things of that nature. So it's just, it tends to like a lot of things on Amazon, it ebbs and flows. And so checking in inventory and the speed of that oftentimes slows down around right after peak days. And so we just had Prime Day. So they probably scheduled people on purpose to do other things other than checking in. And there's still people checking in, but I would imagine the number of people checking in and doing fulfillment center transfers has gone down relative to maybe where it was 2 weeks ago. My personal belief. And so they will still oftentimes sell your product. And so, but it might say, instead of arrives in a day or two, it'll say it arrives in the end of July. So that hurts conversions too. And you don't get the Prime badge oftentimes. So yeah, it does hurt. Next up, Omar says, I launched my branded product in May 2025. I spent a lot on advertising and did huge discounts on Prime Day, made barely any sales until now. Well, this sounds like you're making sales. So we're heading in the right direction. The category is baby wipes. PPC is on and overspending. Okay. Baby wipes is probably going to be a very broad keyword. So it's kind of like my analogy of, whatchamacallit, of markers versus, again, this is not a dry erase marker, but marker versus dry erase marker. Baby wipes versus what kind of baby wipes are they? Are they a special kind of baby wipes? Are they organic baby wipes? Organic, but something about it is a little different that is more specific. And I would start going after longer tail keywords than baby wipes. And you might be saying, but they don't have anywhere near as much volume. I have a feeling Pampers baby wipes, Huggies baby wipes, whatever other baby wipes there are out there are probably dominating page 1 for the term baby wipes. But the longer tail keywords are probably up for grabs. I would focus more of your time and budget on the longer tail keywords that are relevant to your product in the baby wipe category than just going after baby wipes, because baby wipes is going to be a very challenging word. And I don't know if that's what you're already doing, but that would be my suggestion to you. All right. So Ali Rizwan says, if I'm getting better ACoS on rest of search placements and not on top of search, then what does that indicate? And what should be the way forward? Personally, make the sales where you can. It could be your product is, depending on how many sales your product is getting versus whoever is at the top of sale. Maybe Amazon doesn't want to show your product as much at the top of search, or when they do, they want to charge you a premium, but rest of search is getting sales. So at a certain point, if you're getting the sales, what can you do to rank higher? Maybe you just need more reviews, which don't try to do any review manipulation. It's just going to kind of come over time. So you need more sales. So if you're getting the sales and rest of search, personally, I think do it. Top of search can be tough. So I know a lot of times people are like, after top of search. Everyone's going after top of search. Maybe try going after top of search more on longer tail keywords that could be more applicable to your product. Because a lot of times when you get into longer tail keywords, people neglect them. They go after, like in the last example, baby wipes instead of, baby wipes for sensitive skin, something or other. And maybe there's 2 more words. So it's like a 7-word phrase. People avoid those, but it might be very relevant to your product and give you very good targeted potential customers who are more likely to click and buy on you than just after baby wipes, which they might be like, oh, I'll just buy the Pampers one, the name brand. So in your case, just look and see, like, are there other ones you could start showing to Amazon that you're not showing them, but the algorithm is starting to determine that your product is doing well at top of search. And, do you have 100 reviews versus your competition at the top of search has 30,000 reviews? So just start thinking about things like that, because that might be a part of the issue as well. And then at a certain point, just if you're making the sales in rest of search, that's okay. All right. This might be one of the last ones I'm going to do, but Liman Hassan says, I want to sell on Amazon, but don't have the budget now. So I plan to learn PPC and work as a freelancer or in an agency after 1-2 years of experience and saving money. Some more to that. I'm from Bangladesh, 18 years old, want to sell on Amazon. Okay. After 1-2 years old, I want to launch my own product. Is this possible? Yeah, why not? So as long as Bangladesh is, I don't know if Bangladesh is a country you can have an Amazon account. There are some countries that are on the, for lack of a better word, no-fly list. Now, that doesn't mean you can't work, or you can't work for an agency or be a freelancer. So you got to start getting clients if you want to be a freelancer. Initially, you might have to start taking some free clients. So I would just look at, how can you serve other people, learn as much as you can, attend PPC AMAs, go through my Amazon Guy channel, every PPC thing we've put out over the last couple of years, watch those, sign up for summits when they come up, learn where you can, and, look into Alex Hormozi's methods of, getting your first few clients, which he says is your warm audience, and try that. And Mag, first couple clients came from Steven's warm audience. So, over time, Mag has become a multiple 8-figure agency. So you might be able to do that as well, but you got to start off somewhere. So hopefully this was all helpful. Theo says, thank you. My pleasure. And then, other thing, just shout out to folks. You could always go to Mag. Do I have a banner for that? You go to mag-school.com and you could get our PPC course for $100. Let me bring this up here. Sorry, I'm just making a banner here real quick. You can go to mag-school.com and you can sign up for our PPC class, $100. And if you come to our live streams, oftentimes we give away freebies, especially at the beginning. I tend to do it that way. And then what you could also do, which is not PPC related, but if you want to learn more about listing creation, which a good listing is going to have a good effect on whether or not your listing converts, gets noticed by the algorithm, gets traffic. And we're going to have a live training this Thursday at 1:00 p.m., which in the chat, which other than Facebook, I think everywhere should have that. Facebook, for whatever reason, I don't think allows us to comment directly, but you should be able to see the link to that. And that would be for our masterclass we have coming up here this coming Thursday at 1:00. You can sign up for free. And so basically that's in 48 hours. So sign up for it, folks. So if you have any questions, let us know. And with that, thank you for joining us, and I wish you the best on your journey. Take care.